Well, you folks asked for it, so here it is, I guess. I'm still not 100% sure you guys are completely ready to dive into some of the worst of what Jack has to offer, so I kind of want to help wean everybody further on to the hard Jack drug. And I really couldn't think of any better place to start than a seemingly normal food that looks decently prepared. It looks edible. One of my favorite foods, mac and cheese.
Oh, and hit the subscribe button because we're trying to hit 500 subs before the channel's 5th anniversary in April, thanks.
So folks, without further ado, once again, here is Jack Scalfani, the greatest chef on the internet, with his incredible mac and cheese. Absolutely artistic. Peak art right there. Just the faces he makes chef's kiss.
Hey, how you doing? Jack Scalfani here. It's time to do another episode of the Cooking with Jack show. Before we get started though, I want to tell you the winner of the Jack on the Go shirt that I was giving away. It seems that our winner's name is Dick's Grill. He has a YouTube channel. I don't know if he's a restaurant or he does a cooking show also, but congratulations to him for winning the shirt. Also, I want to thank Remington6789. Is that the name? Yeah, 6789, who did a video parody on me.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot. This is the video where Jack gets really salty at a cooking with Jack parody video. Just watch this.
I'm going to show you a real quick clip. Then later on, you can go check him out. But here it is. Take a look at this. They did a great job. It's pretty funny.
This parody is 20 times funnier than anything Jack has made trying to be funny.
It's time for viewer mail.
Alright, thank you. Our first piece of viewer mail comes from YouTube user Naruto Fan Masacox9. I don't know where you guys get these.
Why am I even here? I should just let this play out like Jack does.
He says, "Hey Jack, I was wondering how many recipes have you screwed up over the past 2 years?" Well, see, Naruto, it's ignorant people like you that makes me hate my job, breaking out this camera for you, and doing all sorts of recipes and reviews for you every single day. So just shut up and deal with it.
Well, he does the work for me. I'm gonna go grab some food. You guys want anything? No? Okay.
Alright, now after this episode, you can go over there and check out the rest of that video, but like I say, good job, guys. That was, you got me good. My brother calls me up and goes, "Hey, dude, did you see what they did on your show? They did a parody." I'm like, yeah, real funny.
He's he's definitely not salty about that parody video at all. Hey, that was real funny, guys. Yeah, you really got me good there, huh? Yeah, my brother called me and said, "Yo, hey, these guys, they took the piss out of you." Pretty funny.
No, it was. Nice job. Let's move on now.
he had to fade, dissolve the second he was done giving that insincere compliment. Otherwise, it would have just been a string of expletives.
It is going to be incredible macaroni and cheese. Not just macaroni and cheese, but incredible macaroni and cheese.
Okay. Like I said, mac and cheese is one of my favorite foods. I'm always down for a good mac and cheese, so let's see what Jack brings to the table to elevate this from mac and cheese to incredible mac and cheese.
Why is it incredible? Because we have special ingredients in this. And one being chipotle chili powder. Yeah, who would have thought? A buddy of mine sent me the recipe, one of my viewers, and he said it was the best he's ever made, and it's incredible.
So this isn't even Jack's recipe. It's a recipe that a fan sent him. But knowing Jack, taking a recipe that somebody else gave him, he's still going to screw it up somehow or make it look as unappealing as possible.
And I read the recipe, and it does sound pretty good. It's got Monterey Jack. It's got sharp aged cheddar cheese. It's got this other cheese called Gruyere. I didn't think I was ever going to find this cheese.
Gruyere. Jack, do you not know what Gruyere cheese is? For somebody who claims to be such a well-versed chef, again, there are so many things he has little to no knowledge about that you would expect him to know. Gruyere is a very common cheese to use in common or fancy or elevated dishes. Gruyere is one of the cheeses most commonly used in French onion soup or ham and cheese. You should at least know that there's not an O in the name of it. It's spelled with a U, so at least pronounce it right.
First thing we're going to do is melt the butter in the pan. Medium flame on that. You don't want to burn the butter. Okay, now that the butter is all melted, we're going to put in our flour next.
Okay, so he's making a roux and making that into a cheese sauce, and then he's going to combine that with the pasta. So instead of doing the typical Jack route of making everything in one pan, this might actually work fairly okay. Oh, and he's baking it too.
Remember the recipes at the bottom if you need exact measurements. We're going to whisk this for about 2 minutes. Okay, so we've added the flour into there. Now we're going to slowly add in some milk.
I know people make roux differently, but usually you don't want to mix the flour and the butter together all by itself. If I'm correct, you want to slowly incorporate milk into it as you're mixing, so that way it doesn't end up a clump of sludge like he has before you add your milk. Because you can see now he has a hard time incorporating the butter flour sludge into the milk because it's all heated and clumped together rather than slowly mixing everything together and adding the milk in and allowing it to all blend as one. You're adding the milk into what is essentially become a solid. See, look how it's almost entirely liquid. Yes, when you're working on a cheese sauce or a roux, you do want it to be very thin and liquidy, but this just looks like he dumped a bunch of milk into the pot rather than having it mixed with flour and butter. He did a crossfade here, and I can bet dollars to donuts that he probably added more flour into this mixture because there is no way this milk, butter, and flour mixture would reduce and thicken that much while still staying at the relative level of height in the pan that it's at. Because, the milk is a liquid. It's a steam. It evaporates, and as it evaporates, it condenses and reduces, and that's how you get it to thicken. But when it thickens up, it's going to be at a lower level than what it was as a liquid.
And the first thing you're going to put in here, before we put the cheese in, okay, we're first going to put in the chipotle powder and the garlic powder, okay?
I don't know how much mac and cheese he's planning on making, but that's not gonna be enough powder. Onion powder, maybe. The chipotle powder, on the other hand, is going to get so lost in the taste and texture of the other especially if you're using aged cheddar, it's going to get lost in the taste. Yeah, you'll have a little bit of a kick, but it's going to be harder to have all that spice come through.
We're gonna drop that in there first, just to get the seasoning mixed in. I don't want to put the cheese in first because the cheese could prevent all this flavor from transferring through the rest of the sauce. So I'm mixing in the seasoning first. Once again, make sure your flame's off. Wow, you could smell it already, the garlic and the chili powder, and wow.
See how after he mixes the onion and chipotle powder into the roux, it's almost the same color as it was before they even went in there. It's completely become solvent. There's no trace of it in there whatsoever. I'm sure as it is right now, you'd be able to taste it, but when you're adding all these 3 cheeses in there along with the noodles, which I would assume are at least boiled in salted water, it's going to get lost.
Then you're going to dump in your grated, aged, sharp cheddar cheese.
That's about the amount of sharp cheddar that you should add if that was the only cheese going in there. And don't get me wrong, I love extremely cheesy mac and cheese. That's kind of the entire reason I enjoy it, is because I like cheese. But if you're putting in a max of 3 cheeses, either you're going to have to put in the same amount for the other 3, which is going to overload that pot, or you're going to have to put in a lot less, in which case the cheddar is going to, again, dominate the flavor.
Now that I've incorporated the cheddar, I'm going to drop in the Monterey now. I didn't want to put everything in at once.
See, that is not a lot.
Let's get our macaroni water started. Okay, now when you cook the macaroni, it's going to be the penny pasta.
My favorite pasta, penny, the only pasta in existence that's made purposely to taste like copper.
And when you cook the penny pasta, basically you're going to cook it about 2 minutes shorter than it should be. Okay, right when it's almost done but not done. You're going to have to sample it. It's going to be kind of chewy but still kind of sticky.
So make it al dente. It literally says how to make your pasta al dente on the box, Jack. You don't need to act superior and smarter than your average home cook telling them to pull it 2 minutes sooner in order to get al dente pasta. But he always has to interject his own little tidbits to prove that he knows what he's doing, and he's right.
Water's boiling. Let's do it. I'm going to put the penny pasta in. And I don't know if you guys know how to cook pasta, but you're going to want to stir it right away so the pasta doesn't stick to each other.
Or you know what could prevent the pasta from sticking, Jack? Well, I shouldn't have to say this because you're the professional chef. Just keep stirring it so it doesn't stick together. Yeah, that works. Or you could, do what most real chefs do and add a little bit of olive oil or salt to prevent it from sticking.
I'm going to drain the water out and bring this back nice and hot. Do not rinse the macaroni off with cold water, okay? Nice and hot still. See that? But we're not over flame anymore. Then we're going to take the cheese sauce. We're going to pour it right in there. We're just going to mix it all in. It's been sitting a little bit, so you'll see the top layer looks a little darker, but it's all good.
Jack, the top layer is not a little darker. The top layer has a film over it now because you've let it sit and stagnate in the pot and just let that film develop over top instead of actually cooking this at the same time. How hard is it to put a boiling pot of water in the corner burner of the stove and make some pasta while you're making the sauce at the same time, Jack?
Mix that all in thoroughly.
I know I said the cheese sauce looked decent. Looking at it now, just something about it is off. I don't know if it's the color grading on his camera, but it just looks almost sickly, pallid. Like, it's got just the slightest twinge of green to it in a weird way.
Now let's transfer it to our 9x13 pan.
Jack, that is a Dutch oven. You could just throw it in the oven in the pot that you have it in currently. Just put some breadcrumbs over top of that and you're all set. If you do transfer it to another pan, you'd have a larger spread for the breadcrumbs, but it would honestly probably get a better crust on the outside edges of the macaroni that are coming into contact with the Dutch oven and create that nice little caramelization, almost making it a casserole texture on the end to it, where it's crispy, but not like burnt and crunchy.
Look how beautiful that is.
Maybe it's the penne. I'm not sure what it is about this recipe that is so off-putting visually.
Cheddar cheese on top, about 2 ounces. And it also asks for the Gruyere. I think it's called Gruyere. Watch, I'm probably mispronouncing this. I think it's called Gruyere cheese. This is a really strong cheese. I just tasted some of it.
Did you not try the cheese before you put it into the... Remember, folks, never try any of the food you're making while you're making it.
And last but not least, you're just going to give it a little bit of a kick. You're going to top it off with the chipotle chili powder.
Okay, yeah, so he's not making a breadcrumb mixture to go on this. I think if you wanted to incorporate more of the chipotle powder into it, the best course of action would be to make a breadcrumb mixture that has the chipotle powder worked into it. That way you can bake that on top and you'll get that nice breadcrumb finish, but the baking will also draw out more of the heat of the spice. Or you could throw in some actual herbs or even some meat, even another type of cheese that you didn't incorporate into the actual sauce.
Oh, that looks beautiful. Look at that. All right, it's going in the oven for 30 minutes at 350 degrees. And we'll show you in just a moment what it looks like. Give you a shot of this coming right out of the oven. Look at that. Okay, time to serve up a little mac and cheese.
Whoa. Oh, I don't like that it like deflates as he fade cuts. It looks like a TV dinner that you put in the microwave, but you put it in for too long, and when you pulled it out, parts of it like on the bottom are burnt and like almost a solid mass. If I were to take any of these corner or edge pieces, it would just be crunchy.
There we go.
You don't want to see like a pool of grease at the bottom of the pan after you scoop the mac and cheese out. So that means that a lot of the moisture from the cheeses, as well as probably some of the fattiness from the butter, has disincorporated from the sauce and has separated to line the bottom of the pan, rather than being something you'll be able to taste in the mac and cheese, meaning that it's going to be drier.
It smells awesome. Now let me give you some variations before I try this. For those of you who are, my mouth's watering, that's so stupid. For those of you who are vegetarians, you can dice up some vegetables and throw them in here before you bake it. I would stir fry a little bit of vegetables, or I would even chop up zucchini or eggplant. It'd be awesome in this. For you meat lovers, I've had macaroni and cheese with ground beef and ground sausage. You brown it, throw it into the mix, and then bake it. So throw some meat in there.
Every dish right there that he described that you could have made as an alternative would have been 20 times better than what he ended up making. But again, this almost boils back down to Jack's lazy man's philosophy. A lot of Jack's recipes, even if they're not lazy man's recipes, consist of him throwing things into a pot, cooking it, and calling it a day. At least put a bit more of the chipotle powder in there. Hell, even another spice or ground pepper powder in there, just to give it a little bit. Mix in some hot sauce. A plain vanilla mac and cheese is fine, but this is incredible mac and cheese. When I think of incredible mac and cheese, I don't think of, hey, I threw in 3 of the most common baking cheeses into a pot with some penne pasta. I'm kind of going off on a tangent now. I know this was a bit more normal than a lot of what Jack has done, but I think it's good to give you guys that spoonful of sugar to help the proverbial medicine go down before we jump into the war zone. But yeah, thanks y'all for watching. Let me know down below if you want to keep seeing more stuff like this. You obviously did last time, and I'm more than willing to keep making Jack videos if you guys will watch them. I've been watching these by myself and with friends for years now, so being able to share it with you guys is honestly pretty fun. If you have any particular Jack videos that you'd want me to look at too, let me know in the comments. I have a few picked out already if I do continue covering him, but I'd love to see what you guys think is terrible too. As always, thanks y'all for supporting and sticking around, and I hope to see you folks in the next one. See ya.
Don't even know